think there's something to be said about reinventing oneself. I mean, I think that the nature of how we live and how we sort of get stuck, or maybe not stuck, but just like into different ways of behavior. Without the reinvention of oneself, we'll just sort of stagnate, right?
Mm-hmm. But hopefully you're reinventing yourself because you want growth and you can't seem to get out of, you can't seem to move on because of the people that you're surrounded with. Because quite often, I mean, actually the only obstacle to reinventing yourself is stress and pressure from other people, right? Who are like,
the old adage, the peer pressure thing, right?
That's right. No, you change something, and they're like, no, you'll never change. You're always the old person and this, and I'll always remember this history and this kind of stuff. Some people just simply can't get off this one track mind, that people do change.
People do change, and I think one of the best ways to find change is to move. I think that moving has a way of changing, because you're suddenly outside of that old environment in this entirely new one, where you can sort of develop the new ideas that you have held in that old place, but were confined against actually breaking them out.
Yeah, and then you can reinvent yourself by moving back.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're suddenly a new person, right? You're now the local hero. Apparently, so and so moved away, and now they're back. Well, they're entirely different. Oh wow, how did they do that?
Of all the ways that you can reinvent yourself, such as dress and location and changing your name and plastic surgery or just creative makeup, I think attitude is the most important part of reinvention. You really have to begin to think like the person you are reinventing yourself into. Whereas you're lazy and perhaps you watched a lot of TV and you want to become more athletic, you got to just think like an athletic person. You want to become a creative person, you got to think like a creative person. And essentially just be what you want to be. And then that's how reinvention kind of falls into place.
The idea of taking ideas and shifting those ideas into new ways and to follow ways that you want to be like, so if you take an idol, for instance, and you want to be like this person, so you shift your ways slowly to become that. But when you're in the stagnant environment of an old place or an old group of friends, you find a very difficult time in introducing these new ways to this group or to this particular lifestyle, right? So there are ways one can reinvent themselves in the same city, in the same space, but it generally involves changing a whole number of things, right? So there's something to be said for this cutting off by moving away, cutting. And then suddenly now you have this open environment where all these ideas that you've been fermenting on to sort of come to fruition, and right? And suddenly now you have this ability to be the person that you have been, but have been afraid to show it.
You do have to cut off people around you to kind of reinvent yourself, or at least cut off seeing those kind of visual cues, where you see, you're eventually going to see all the old people, you're going to see all the old things that remind you, the old hangouts, where that used to remind you of the old you, right? So
I know, but then sometimes you cling on to those too, right? I mean, there's a cling onness to those old things that you don't want them to disappear from your life. You simply want to evolve. Unfortunately, sometimes you need to change the environment that you are in order to evolve as a person, and some things get left behind. What happens when someone is so publicly known that moving doesn't even help their reinvention, right? That their reinvention requires much more than simply a move, because they're so infiltrated into the public realm.
Right, or like these Renaissance men like Leonardo da Vinci, these heroic multitaskers, right? Who are able to do one thing and change careers, changing horses in midstream, so to say.
Oh, instantaneous. I mean, just like snap. I feel that way sometimes within my frame of work, where I've shifted careers, jobs, whatever you want to call them, multiple times, and each time I just sort of find my way back into that. And I'm sure most people can relate to this.
Yeah, or even like I said earlier, the minor ways of reinventing yourself, changing your makeup, just changing the way you dress, or the people that you hang out with, or the music.
Yeah, because I always like to change my makeup.
Where are we going to dress one day and back to Ted the other day?
Suddenly reinvented.
I think that's good.